Welcome back, everybody. My name's Andy Clow. I'm Marketing Director here at Black Cat. Today, we've got a bit of a novelty from our perspective. Our first guests joining us today that aren't part of the Black Cat family. And today, we're hoping to delve a little bit into their history, why they're here, why we've worked with them as individuals in the future, and see what they're bringing in terms of a new and exciting brand to the sector. So I'm going to hand over now briefly. We're going to start chatting to the two guests. So we've got on the far side, we've got Joe Russell. Hello, Joe. And then we've got Ian Fairweather as well joining us today. And so, Joe, why don't we start with you? Let's have a little chat about yourself, why. Introduce your business, which I've not really done yet, sure. and then we'll hand over to Ian after that. So, Joe, welcome.
Thank you. So we've set up Allegro Real Estate. We're a new property company of sorts, working to be an operating partner alongside investors, helping them unearth opportunities that they might not necessarily find in the market themselves, but also work with family offices and high net worths, maximising their existing portfolios. And that's brought out of our track record and our experience before, where we worked together at CBRE Investment Management. I was there for 7 years, Ian for 12, and we worked in the fund management space, doing everything from acquisitions, sales, and ongoing asset management. So we've got that cradle to grave experience.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so Ian, over to you. Let's have a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, no problem. Well, thank you for inviting us on. So I've, as I say, Joe mentioned I've been at CBRE, or was at CBRE Investment Management for 12 years, nearly 12 years. And been in the industry for 16 years, and as our time at CBRE IM, we developed a hell of a lot of experience there and met a lot of good people, and we were fortunate enough to work on a number of different funds there that covered all sorts of different sectors, investments. We've done lots of acquisitions, sales, asset management, the whole piece, and through that we think you could call us generalists. Okay. In that sense, rather than specialists in a sector. And we think we can take that experience and what we've learned and apply it to, as Joe said, to a less institutional world, which is, albeit applying our institutional experience, but to this less institutional world of high net worth and family offices. So that's the game plan the business plan in a nutshell.
Okay, so 2025 has obviously been a big year for the two of you. We're approaching the end of that year, but Joe, you and I, we met probably 6 months ago. And within a Black Cat frame, you're invited as a guest of ours. Yeah. And then within that time, we've kind of sat down and spoken about what your ambitions and plans are for Allegro. And in terms of the status and the stage of that business development, I've seen you talk from when we first met, it was a conversation about what is going to be. But now it is, right? Yeah. So you've launched. Yeah. Okay. So where are you based? How far have we got into the business launch and that stage forward for 2025?
So we've got an office. We're based on Hanover Square in the West End, which is a nice little hub between agents, capital, and Mayfair. And to be honest, you walk around there and you sort of bump into everyone and anyone from the industry. So it's a really nice hub to be in. Yeah. We've undertaken our first transaction alongside a capital partner. And we're just looking to grow the business further in the two streams that we're looking at. So that is that deal-by-deal opportunity where we think we can unearth something really interesting, but also offer that personalised investment management skill set to investors as well, who have maybe existing portfolios, the opportunity to grow it. And we've had some really positive conversations alongside that. And going to Ian's point about being a generalist, we have preferred sectors that we're working in at the moment, but that's because we're looking at the opportunity in the market now. But that generalisation allows us to adapt and move with the market conditions and see new opportunities. And that's where, realistically, the name Allegro comes from. It's about playing at tempo or being able to move at tempo and adapt to what's going on in front of us.
That's amazing. Okay, and
no, exactly that. So when Joe mentions that we're going to be, we're targeting these sort of family offices. A lot of these, there's a lot of sort of wealthy families out there who their original business was probably, or in many cases, wasn't real estate or real estate investment, but they've been very successful. And then over time, they've built up these portfolios that some of them can be quite disparate, whether it's all located in one part of the UK or random mix of properties. And we're offering our services or providing experience to and expertise to help provide an overview of their existing estate and help them maximise the value from it. Okay. Whether that will involve sales or acquisitions or just maximising the profit, then that's for us to kind of analyse and provide that that advice. So that's one angle we're looking at and exploring at the moment.
The reality is the world's got a lot more challenging. To really maximise the return out of your investment on property, you really have to work it. It's not gone on the days of sort of picking the right thing and it just grows with a booming market. We had that for the best part of a decade previously. We're now at a point where everything needs to be, focused on. There's a lot more risks, not just within the particular asset, but within the economy, and therefore being fully aware and fully up to speed of all those different angles and how to either just say, look, cut your losses, you probably need to get out now because it's going to get worse, or saying, actually, have you seen this opportunity here? You can improve your income, or maybe it's a change of use in a planning context and you can maximise your value that way. Yeah. So we think we can bring that breadth of experience across our time at CBREM and deliver that for investors.
Yeah, there's no obvious sector to invest in at the moment, which is partly why there's been far fewer transactions, and you could argue it's been fewer transactions in general, very big generalisation area for the last few years, which means that you've got to be really, really on it and provide something different when you're looking at the investments and what sort of asset management can you do to really maximise the income growth rather than relying on the capital growth side of things. And that's where we think, we know we can provide that angle. So rather than being a sort of pure broker introducing properties to people, we're looking at that side of things, but also we're looking at it with this other angle that hopefully not many other people have thought of or explored, and that's where it can benefit future clients.
Okay, so you've mentioned, both of you have a long experience of working with CBREIM, just to make sure I get the full one correct there. So in terms of the scale of that company compared with the opportunities that you're presenting with yourselves, to many that would sound like quite a challenge, but obviously you guys have got the energy, that startup energy, to be able to do things differently. And so what would you tell a potential investor, potential client, what's the opportunity that you offer them that they might not get with some of the well-established and good places? So where's the excitement for you guys for the clients?
Should I take that one? Or well, I think the first thing to say is that CBRE Investment Management is an amazing company, but it's a big, one of the biggest investment management houses in the world, and obviously a sister company of CBRE, who are the biggest consultancy in the world. So you'll get a very good service if you go to them, but they're not targeting smaller family wealth in the same way. They do have some private clients, but we're talking multitudes, billionaire type money, or multi-billionaire money, sort of princes around the world, and that sort of thing. But in general, it's big institutional clients, whether it's pension funds, insurance companies, that sort of thing. Whereas we are providing, a service to focus on, I'm not going to say smaller business because it's not, but it's players that big institutional companies won't be as interested in because the scale just isn't there for them. And what comes with that is that our focus in general is on smaller lot sizes. So when I say smaller, I mean the sort of £5 to £25 million range, which I won't go into all the depth of it all, but it used to be an area that was very institutionalised with lots of DB pension schemes. Less so now, as a lot of them are selling out, and because of that, that's an area that we're focusing in on, while the institutions are going up the lot size curve, looking at properties that are over 25 million. Again, big generalisations going on here, but we think that there might be there is a gap for advice to focus on those smaller lots. And
you've clearly had positive feedback in terms of that, because since talking about this since starting, you said that you've already started those foundations of working with new clients. So how's that going?
Yeah. I think that there's the twofold appeal. It's it's being able to find deals that are backed up on their own individual merits, and so the metrics make sense. But it's the sort of personalised approach that we can offer. So it's about tailoring our advice to the needs of the individual family or office itself. You have certain family offices based overseas that it's all about capital preservation and potentially income generation from a strong currency, which the British pound still is. Yeah. For others, it's all about the profit, and they just want to keep increasing their profits. So it's being able to sort of bridge the gap between different strategies, but work within a sort of more entrepreneurial environment than just taking sort of much larger, chunkier assets that are really good quality property, which some of the institutions focus on, but we can find sort of a little bit more, not take a view on risks, but you adapt your approach based on the risk profile, to match the deal with the prospective capital you're dealing with on an individual basis, on a more personalised approach. I think that's what.
Yeah,
How we're trying to differentiate.
And at a personal level, we think there's an opportunity, and we think there's more flexibility for us to do that. Whether it's trying to buy a property, then the business plan changes. You go, oh, okay, we could actually sell this 6 months later. Fantastic. Whereas you might be in an institutional world, might be a bit more predetermined whether you wouldn't necessarily be able to do that. So from our perspective, there's a certain flexibility point to why we set up Allegro. Me personally, I was just turned 40, unfortunately.
I remember
That's not just a declaration, right? Yeah, it's all real. But for me, I've no kids at the moment, so it just seemed like
that's when the hair goes.
An opportunity, an opportune time to take the risk, see what happens, give it our all, and take it from there. Would I have the same energy in 10 years? I hope so, but you can't. Who knows? Your life changes, right?
Absolutely.
So there's an opportunity now. We've kind of think we've spotted it and going to give it a whirl.
Well, I think
got off to a good start. So hopefully we can keep this momentum and take it from there.
I think that's where the kind of link then, to explain why you're sat here with me at Black Cat, to explain that kind of link. So, we sat down before this and Barnsley joined us, and, we could see that, I could see straight away that you guys know each other quite well, as companies. And so you've worked with us for some years?
6 years plus.
Yeah.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, so Black Cat been around 10 years?
10 years right? this year, round about now, we're celebrating our 10th anniversary.
And we did even the guys that set up Black Cat, we obviously worked with them, some of them before they were at Black Cat. I think some of them were previously at CBRE.
They were, yeah.
So followed them over, carried on working with them over time, and build these relationships. They get stronger and stronger, and delighted that you've asked us to kind of speak with yourselves. But hopefully we can do more and more with you. So it's working with trusted partners.
That's exactly it. Yeah, that's the key part of our business is about relationships. As I've been here a year myself now, just learning that more and sitting down with people in this chair, in this setting, and I can see that's so relevant for your businesses as well.
Yeah, there's definitely, Stephen and Ben have been really, great to us in terms of being at the end of a phone of advice along the way. Obviously, they're sort of 10 years ahead, and hopefully we can be as successful as them in the next decade. And so it's just, a combination of working with them. You build that relationship over a period of time, and you learn, actually the way in which they see the world, you start seeing it in a similar way. Obviously, we're more on the sort of investment and asset management piece. Black Cat is on a more technical piece. But overall, we work in the same sort of field, and so to have those guys at the end of a phone, or meet them for a coffee and just to share that experiences, and they're that little bit of gumption to sort of push you.
They've always been honest, and they've always been commercially minded, which is something that we put a lot of value on.
Honesty is definitely a strength of Stephen's in particular. That's
but the commercially minded thing is quite key for me certainly, and that's not just with building consultancy, but whether it's lawyers, any sort of agent, it's just having that mindset of having them, how do you phrase it, being strong-minded enough in their own ability to advise you that is the route to go down, and they're exposing themselves to some degree by taking an approach, and I put a lot of value on that. So.
And look, they're not afraid to just call it out. I spoke to Stephen a couple of times. He goes, why aren't you doing it? If you think there's the opportunity and you think it's going to go well, and you back yourselves, and very kindly said he backs us as well in terms of our skill set. It's like, what's holding you back? Just go and do it. And so sometimes you need those people that are just willing to say, just get on with it. You could always make an excuse why not.
Yeah. I don't think you could find a better. To use the word mentor, maybe not be right, but in just that sense, somebody to motivate you in that sense. So, joining motivation, talking to the future, 2026. So, what's the plan? What's happening? How many people? If we sat down in a year's time, how many people are you going to have working for you? You're going to do a Black Cat and go rocket, or is this something that the expertise that both of you hold is what people are buying into, which is great value as well.
Well, we signed a 2-year lease on our office, and it's probably a tenth the size of this room. So, but no room to bring in anyone else. No, we obviously, like anyone starting a business, we want to keep it as lean as possible early on, because you don't want to take anything for granted and assume things carry on going well. But in a perfect world, that is the business plan. It would be to get to the point where if you need to bring in some expertise or more experience, to help the business grow, then we're open to that. But
What was it
I
saying?
suspect we're going to run it very
IT
lean.
manager,
until
we were talking about, right?
Here he
head
is.
of IT.
Yeah,
Thank
Here he
you.
is.
Oh, you're head of IT. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got one
I'm,
trick, and that's it.
For those who know me, I'm famously bad with tech. So
Okay. Well, as long as you know this
yeah,
between the two.
I
of
know
you,
this.
yeah,
So yeah.
So I suppose, and that's something we touched on very briefly as well in terms of how you guys know each other. Yeah, all right. You work at CBRE together, CBRE IM together. But what was that working relationship, and how have we ended up with you two as ex, colleagues of CBRE, and now you're actually off doing your own thing? What's the background?
Well, I started at CBRE and before Joe did. It was called Global Investors, as was. I joined in beginning of 2014. I was in a team that was expanding, and we were hiring for a new role, which I believe was in 2018.
Yeah, back then.
So we sent out the job advert. Had one applicant who's sitting here.
Just one.
No, lots of applicants. Interviewed Joe, and he ended up hiring him to work in the funds.
So you interviewed him.
I interviewed him. Some others interviewed him as well.
Yeah.
I was part of that team.
My
He
chat
came in.
is so good.
It's working now. I think so. So, yeah.
You can
Well,
see
I can
the
see
likes
why.
coming in.
No comment. He impressed us. So then hired him there, and we worked on it for 4 years on the same funds. So got to know how each other worked.
Back when you were in the office 5 days a week.
Yeah, back when some of this was pre-COVID, some was during the lockdown period. Okay. And then Joe went off and worked on a couple of other funds, and we decided that after this amount of time, it was when you're setting something up, is knowing that you can work with someone is quite key. Well, we thought that was quite key, and knowing that I've been sat next to a guy for 4 years, or including COVID, constantly on Zoom calls, whatever it might be, then that was a pretty key thing, knowing that you're at a personal level, being in a tiny office day in, day out, isn't going to great after an hour.
So you can put up with my famously now good chat. There's also that ability to look at opportunities, or be asked questions about whether it's next steps of the business, and just go, without speaking to Ian, I could probably guess what the answer is going to be, and it's that speed of decision or speed of thought that we can have, knowing how we look at things. And it's not exactly the same, because we have different backgrounds prior to our time at CBRE IM, and we also are different personalities, but it is that synergy that's already there, that understanding, that's just the unspoken bits that just go through when you're, whether it's in a meeting or after a meeting or just following up with an agent. Just you have that gut feel of I don't think we're going to like it. It's not just me. And look, we're 2. 3 would be easier in case there was a difference of opinion. So just being the 2 of us means that we need to have that consensus, and I think that experience allows us to be on the same page quite quickly.
And we've got a different sort of books of contacts in many ways as well.
Yeah.
Rather than you can have 2 sort of best friends start a business, but they all know the same agents, whereas we actually.
Best friends?
No, I said we could. So if you're bringing 2 different sets of contacts to, obviously we have lots of overlap, but there's also an element of people that Joe's very friendly with, or built up good relationships with me on the other side. So widens your pool, and hopefully that's a beneficial thing going forward.
Yeah, if we kind of hark back to the episode that we recorded with Stephen and Ben, and we talk about that same thing, and the reason that they found Dice was like, we need a third person, because different personalities, they knew that they needed that additional. But I can see with you 2 guys, it gels really well. And it's not to say it's like a story of woe, but I as a designer, whatever, I've always had that ambition to do, and I've kind of run my own business, but I never found that person to work with. And I think that would have been, in my career, it would have ended up very differently had I found that working relationship with the right person to be like, right, let's go and do this together and have that bounce and that drive for, you're not just working for yourself, you're working for the other person. So that's I'm a little bit jealous, let's put it that way.
I mean, a question could have been, well, why didn't you, me, or Joe do it just by ourselves individually? And that is something which, in this world of investment management, high net worth and what have you, a lot of people want to know that there's 2 people, at least 2 people they're going for. One can be sense checked. If something happens to one, God forbid, then there's another person there. Sense checking ideas, that kind of thing. And as you say, as we just mentioned, it also increases your contacts, that side of things. So in the good times, it'd be great to share it with someone else. In the bad times, if you're by yourself, I suspect it'd be quite a very lonely place. So you've got to keep each other motivated. So starting as a 2 seems hopefully will prove to be the case, but seems
we have
A
different
good way to start.
temperaments, different personalities, and now I would probably say not volatile is probably quite a strong word, but I'm a lot more sort of on the emotional plane going up. The highs are very high and the lows are, I can get frustrated, whereas Ian's a little bit more level-headed in that sense, and therefore, whether it be in the heat of a deal or things like that, we can work with each other. Whether it needs a little bit more fire, then maybe that's where I step in, and if we need to be paired back, then Ian can call that off, or that implies that I'm quite angry. I'm not. It's just
You're angry, and I'm some sort of emotionless robot who's just
Probably the best way of explaining it, but it's just to sort of say, we have different personalities, and that also helps. And just that sounding out ideas, even if we're both on the same page, talking something through, you can then play devil's advocate with someone. If it's just yourself, it's only your own. You play devil's advocate against yourself, it never works. So, we're obviously really happy that we've stepped out together.
Yeah, brilliant. That's amazing. So something that we touch on mostly with the surveyors who's come down to sit with me so far.
We are also surveyors by
all right.
by qualification.
This is me, the 6-year-old in the room guy, because I'm like I don't know yet. I'm learning this as we go along. It's not been my background. So 12 months in, I've learned a lot, but there's so much more. But in terms of why you took this route, what made you? Did you become education-wise, qualification-wise? So you're both surveyors. Yes. Did you do building surveying at university? Are you like University of West England, which seems to be most people?
We're general practice surveyors, so it's a different sort of surveyor qualification.
Fair enough.
So
sometimes called commercial surveyors. It's kind of the most general route you could.
Jack of all trades.
The easiest route.
No
comment here again.
I've no idea. I mean, I did a bloody design degree, so it's just colouring in, really. It's fine. So,
I had geography at university, so some people would say that's
I can see that makes
same
sense.
thing.
So,
bit of colouring in.
Yeah.
But what happened? What happened to make you do this? Because there's one story which is kind of consistent with the surveyors, or one thing.
Okay.
So where's yours?
Well, I started in a very sort of, institute. I went to a relatively prestigious school, went to university, did a degree in finance economics, went into banking, realised I didn't like banking. I come from a family of people in property, so always saw that as an opportunity.
I come from people in property as well, but we live in that one house.
So, my grandfather was an apprentice surveyor way back post-war, and so it's sort of in the blood, but I always sort of tried to forge my own path and failed miserably. Ended up doing masters in real estate and went to work, did my qualification at JLL, so did the grad scheme, got qualified, then CBRM. So very much my, banking-wise, I was at Deutsche Bank. These are large multinational corporations, very institutional. But I'm fortunate enough that both my dad and some of his peers have run their own businesses, are set up. And so I've always seen that entrepreneurial side, if we use that word, or just that risk-taking side there. And probably as I got older and matured and took my experience, that was always a niggle that sort of slowly grew over time. Pre-COVID was never on the radar. I was like, all the way, big firm, rise up, hopefully, hopefully, and do it that way, and happy to do it because it's all I'd known. But then just got a flavour for what is the other side of it, and how that, if it does work, can go really well. And if it can't, you'll learn a lot along the way. And so that's where sort of my itch, I guess, came for, to sort of do this alongside the market opportunity and the other bits going on.
Yeah, it's fair to say I didn't have the same kind of entrepreneurial itch, or going back way back. So I started did geography at Nottingham. I don't know why there are so many former geographers who are in commercial property, but there are. Maybe it's, I don't know, in relation to people and places. I have no idea, to be honest, but there seems to be a lot. And then I did a master's at London South Bank University in the real estate finance course, and from there was looking around for jobs in the just after the GFC, which wasn't an amazing time to be looking for grad jobs. But fortunate enough, there was a great property management firm called Workman took me on. Yes. Trained up as the as Joe mentioned, the commercial surveyor route, qualified there, and CBRE Investment Management were my main clients, so I ended up moving across to there. And then, as I say, I was happy, very, very, I know happy, and still up, be happy being in the big firm, but it's about seeing this opportunity and taking it from there and seeing how we get on. So
it wasn't just the flash car, because when we sit down here with most people, it's like, so why did you become a building surveyor? Oh, well, I met a building surveyor, what my granddad knows, and he had a wicked car. And that seems to be the narrative. That's what I was leading to.
There is a lot of money to be made in property if you do it right. Ultimately, that's why I guess most people are in business. But no, not just about the car. It's the house as well.
The house as well.
To trade in the car and go back to a bicycle to.
Well, good to hear
To
you're
start a
invested.
business.
Start it up,
Yeah, we
yeah.
walk everywhere.
That's the proper
ESG as well.
narrative.
Yeah.
Good. Oh, good lad. Well
Yeah,
done.
good ESG plug. Yeah.
So, guys, it's been brilliant having you in. I think that's
you.
probably a really good place to put a pin in this conversation and look forward to bringing you back in 2026. So if you've got anything else you want to do, a last minute little pitch, to give out your website, reiterate your company name by all means, please do. We're not the BBC.
The company's called Allegro Real Estate. Pick up the phone to speak to either of us. We'd love to talk and see what business we can do together.
Nailed it.
There we go.
Perfect. Well, thank you, everyone. We look forward to welcoming you back next time.
Thank you very much.
There we go. Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you.